There's nothing better than Bayfield apples with caramel on and whipped cream and all the good things they have here. There's nothing better than Bayfield apples with caramel on and whipped cream and all the good things they have here.
And take your pick from all those good things. From apple pie to apple sausage, the Bayfield Apple Festival is always a hit for apple lovers of all ages.
It's great. It's a lot of fun. I've never seen so many people here.
And there are people and apples everywhere. Many orchards from all over Bayfield rely on the popular fall festival to sell much of their harvest.
Well, the goal is actually to get rid of everything here, which doesn't always happen, but hopefully by the end of the day it'll be gone.
It's very important. We gear a lot of our apple sales to this weekend, so there's a lot of nervous energy around when it's pouring rain the night before. So we're just very excited.
This weekend's 34th annual Bayfield Apple Fest is expected to draw over 50,000 people from the Northland and beyond. And organizers say the fest keeps getting bigger every year.
We've expanded the Apple Fest this year. The number of booths, I think, the last count, I think, was about 240 different booths that we have in, which is much larger than it has ever been. And we've kind of spread it around town a little more. You'll notice that at least you can still walk through the main street.
But for this little guy, the idea of one more shiny red apple has lost its appeal. In Bayfield, Ann Carroll, Channel 6 News.
It seems that the State Board is now becoming very sensitive to the fact that people are, that race isn't the #1 issue on the mind even of people of color, and that they would like us to seek other solutions. So I see it as promising.
Gentlemen, you've acknowledged that you're going to, whichever one of you becomes mayor.
Your organization towards their...
Well, they're very concerned. The question is, if poor people can't get legal assistance for family matters, housing matters, benefit matters, what will be the consequence to the community? There are thousands of people who need this service, and if they're cut off, it's going to be a major problem that the whole community should deal with.
we're very excited about the opportunity of bringing in a new major tenant into our facility with good resources, good capital, and a vibrant and thriving marketing technique.
The highway is functioning now, and a lot of that traffic is on there between sites. By making some of these improvements that we've outlined, we feel that not only will it maintain it, but it will actually improve it. We're recommending that we Mall Drive intersection, as well as some long-term, as well as looking at transit improvements, as well as connections for the pedestrians, as well as those that choose to use bicycles to move around within the corridor. So it's kind of an entire transportation.
We now know that the DNR agent has received broken bones to his face, a broken nose, that his eye was actually popped out of the socket. He has numerous lacerations, and we're looking at probably a special surgery on the eye sometime this coming week to repair that damage. We also know that these injuries were suffered prior to the wardens making a decision to use deadly force, which he
There's nothing like the sound of Iron Range taconite pouring into the hold of a steamship. It's the sound of jobs and money, a sound the Northland hopes will never be silenced. Right now we're in Two Harbors, where we're taking on 40,000 tons of taconite, all destined for Gary, Indiana. As the last of the pellets fall into place, a crewman steals a final kiss with his wife, and then on to a long list of chores. Before the Roger Blau can leave the ore dock, these 18-ton hatches must be carefully lifted into place and secured.
Got it here.
These twin 7,500 horsepower Colt peel stick diesel engines must also be warmed up for 30 minutes.
Average speed, if we don't have too much headwind, and that's probably around 16.2 or so when we're loaded. When we're light, we should be able to run up about 17 miles an hour.
Christened in 1972, at 858 feet long, the Roger Blau's pointed bow and ample power makes her the best performing vessel on the Great Lakes for extended season ice operations. She was the last ship constructed on the lakes with a forward end pilot house. As you can imagine, her maiden voyage from the Lorain, Ohio shipyard to Two Harbors attracted attention.
They blew us salutes all the way up the river, and they were down to greet us in Two Harbors, and the ship is so beautiful, and everybody was so excited about the Blau.
Today is also an exciting day. It's the first load of taconite out of Two Harbors in many weeks. 5 holds filled, hatches secured, and engines warmed up. The captain gives the order to let go of all lines. A second order brings a salute to the Blau's home port. Our first trip is a familiar commute for the seasoned crew of the Blau. The names of the points of departure are as familiar as those of their children: Devil's Island, Eagle Harbor, Whitefish Point. For over 20 years, the Blau has plied these waters, but for her captain and crew, the trip will never be routine.
I suppose last fall was pretty bad. It blew 70 off Eagle Harbor and Copper Harbor. We checked down to 4 miles an hour. Of course, I've been on winds up to 80 miles an hour here off Little Sabo on the Spear.
Cut them close. How close do you want them? Closer? Yeah.
From the nearly lost art of splicing cable to general maintenance and repairs, the work on the Roger Blau never seems to end. Hard work, fresh air, and a spectacular view of Lake Superior can build an appetite as great as the lake itself.
I ordered everything that they wanted. We have turned this last cargo hold into a storeroom.
Nicknamed Big Al by the crew of the Roger Blau, Alan Chesky is the ship's steward. It's his job to feed 29 hungry sailors.
This is for the crew.
What is it?
Round of beef.
Born and raised in Superior, Al signed on with his first ship at 17. At 43, a talented chef, he could work in the finest restaurant.
I was a deckhand at 15. Then I started in the engine room, and then I came up here.
What did your mom?
I thought it was safer.
Superiorite Kenny Small is the second cook. He and Al prepare 2,700 meals a month.
And it's your strip loin. That's one strip loin. 1 box of T-bones. There's 40 pounds of ground meat, corned beef brisket, blah, blah.
Al's grocery list will be filled tonight after we enter the Po Lock at Sault Ste. Marie. At 7:23, the Blau enters the South Canal. The side of the ship makes contact with a canal bumper called a knuckle, which helps guide the ship into the lock. As we creep along, crew members are lowered over the side to walk the ship's cable toward the bulwarks.
5 feet forward, 5. Right up aft.
15 right.
Right up aft. Got 15 right.
The captain and his mates are in constant contact. One wrong move in the Blau or the lock could be damaged. Despite the rain and darkness, tonight's trip is flawless. The gates close, water seeks its own level, and the ship lowers with it. 2 miles below the lock on the St. Mary's River, Big Al's groceries are delivered. Workers at the Great Lakes Fleet's Sioux warehouse hoist groceries over the side. This is just a 6-day supply for the galley and Big Al's ovens. Back in the captain's dining room, the menus are identical to those of the crew.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
When we came aboard, we were warned the average weight gain is a pound a day. Fortunately for us, they keep the scale nearly 1/4 of a mile forward in the pilot house.
Yeah.
So now, Kenny, you took all the calories out of this.
Not quite.
It's the last couple.
No.
Well, we'll try to work it off tonight around deck about 10 times.
Nah, 6 times good enough.
It's 6:48 a.m. Third mate Mark Blotnick hauls out of bed and jumps into the shower. Daylight is just beginning to appear over Lake Michigan's horizon. The rain has been left behind at the Sioux Locks. The lake is calm as he walks aft to the crew's dining hall. The first light of morning brings the hint of a perfect day. At 7:10, third mate Blotnick grabs breakfast. One bowl of malt-a-meal later, he heads forward for his first 4-hour watch of the day, and we tag along. At 7:25, he enters the pilot house ready for the shift change and the latest weather report.
We may have to cut down a little more. The wind's going to be out of the east, so we'll find out on Collins what's going to happen.
Sure.
A nor'easter is heading down the lake, a remnant of a hurricane blowing off the Atlantic. Once it hits, unloading at Gary would be impossible. Wave action could literally pound the ship apart inside the slip. The captain gives the order to check down or shut down one engine. No point in wasting fuel to wait at anchor outside Gary. The slower speed magnifies the calm seas, but the pilot house remains on alert.
Vessel calling WLC.
Yes, good morning. Roger Blau with the weather up.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Roger Blau.
Whiskey Zulu Papa 8164.
Okay.
04004.
Okay.
994.
For the next 4 hours, Blotnick will assist the captain, monitoring radar and satellite readings and checking maps to keep the ship on course.
Should be down at the Indiana Shoal buoy a little after 6.
On deck, the sun rises, bringing into focus the beauty of the big lake. But it'll be a scene that third mate Blotnick won't have much time to appreciate.
Okay. Which engine's off, Mark?
Starboard.
Okay.
At 11:30, third mate Blotnick is relieved by second mate Fred Jeffries. First watch completed, Blotnick goes aft for a quick lunch. One chimichanga later, he heads to the weight room. Normally, Blotnick takes a quick nap between watches, but today he's been asked to run a safety drill. Ear-deafening blasts of the ship's horn calls all 29 hands on deck.
Fire was reported in the officer's rec room.
As a first-timer, I begin to struggle into an exposure suit. With the help of a fellow passenger, it becomes quick work.
I'm wearing an exposure suit. It costs approximately $300. The Roger Blau has 47 of these suits, so you can imagine that when it comes to safety, money is no object.
It's 7:30 p.m. Blotnick is back at his post in the pilot house. Despite a forecast of gale force winds, Lake Michigan remains calm. The decision is made to go full speed into Gary in the hopes of beating the weather. At 11:30 p.m., Blotnick's second watch is done.
Well, that's about it. You got her then? Okay. See you in the morning.
At 11:31, he heads for his bunk. The Blau remains on course. But as every Great Lake sailor knows, best-laid plans can change on a moment's notice. Just over halfway into our trip to Gary, Indiana, calm seas give way to rough chop. A hurricane-fed nor'easter begins to blow down Lake Michigan.
Worst wind. Find a place to anchor when it's northeast. Only got up the lake here, it's about 300 miles. You get that sweep.
In Duluth, the remnants of Hurricane Opal have already created a spectacular display.
How did things look for us here? Now remember, our wind gust, 38 miles an hour, over 100 miles an hour less than what they saw in Hurricane Opal. We still had the big winds, and it was enough to get the ooh-ah crowd out there to see them coming in. First storm system of the season, definitely not going to be the last.
Soon, nearly identical waves are sweeping into Gary Harbor, strong enough to tear a ship apart. As we approach, the captain gives the order to drop anchor. Our sister ship, the Edgar B. Spear, dropped anchor hours earlier. Less than 5 miles away, the steel mill's furnace belches in anticipation of fresh Iron Range taconite. But it's a meal that will have to wait.
The weather's number one, that's the boss. You gotta play the weather in the fall. When the weather's bad, you gotta play it, you can't fight it.
Robert Jacobson has been playing the weather for years. He got into the game at 19 when he left his family's dairy farm in Maple, Wisconsin. In those days, it was a tough decision for a teenager.
Well, you come here in the spring when the snow was on the ground, you come home in the fall, the snow was on the ground. No vacations.
Years of hard work and dedication have paid off. Today, Jacobson, or Captain Jake as he's called, is the master of the flagship of the USS Great Lakes Fleet.
Give her a lot more pitch there, Ray, so.
All right.
On this rainy day on Lake Michigan, Captain Jake remains rooted in the pilot house, patiently playing the weather. Finally, the swells diminish, and he gives the order to hoist anchor and head into Gary Harbor. The 8-mile-long Gary steel mill is just materializing in the morning fog. First, the Blau must swing its stern around the break wall.
Hard left.
Hard left.
Once the wall is cleared, the 858-foot Blau is negotiated astern into the canal entrance. From where I'm standing, it looks to be an impossible task. Nonplussed, Captain Jake keeps an ear tuned to his men and his eyes moving back and forth from the canal to his radar.
Oh, yeah, it's like my right head, you know. Well, you come at night time here, too. That's the thing. That's why you got to believe the radar.
Larry Dahlgren is the first mate on the Blau. This is his last trip. He's been reassigned as an observing master.
I've been observing on this ship now for several years, and they want me to observe the 1,000-footers, which are handled different. The engines are different.
Today, Larry observes Captain Jake put the Blau flawlessly in at Gary.
Yeah, it looks like that barge is just on the other side of that pipeline.
Yeah, well, we got a lot of room.
Together, these men claim over 70 years service to the fleet. Soon they'll claim a bond that few achieve, that as masters of a Great Lakes ship. As the Roger Blau makes her way past Hungry Furnace number 13, deckhands are lowered over the side. Within minutes, the ship is secured and the Blau self-unloader begins depositing Iron Range taconite at Gary.
Gary steel plant is probably one of the biggest steel plants in the nation, and they have a furnace over here called number 13, which eats about 20,000 tons of pellet a day. So the Blau is actually only delivering a 2-day supply of pellets.
A self-unloading ship, the Roger Blau can deliver its cargo of Northland taconite at more than 7,000 to 10,000 tons an hour. For those who are a link in the chain of delivery, there's a strong sense of pride.
Everybody does a great job. I mean, all the way from Mintech to mining the material and shipping it down here by rail and loading it from the docks and putting it into the ships and bringing it down here, and then finally seeing the raw product being loaded in barges over here to go down the river.
It must give you a sense of pride to be a part of all of this.
I'm very proud of it.
In 1901, the boom in bulk cargo shipping on the Great Lakes began to mature. It was then that 6 successful steamship companies joined forces to create the USS Great Lakes Fleet. From the turn of the century to the 1920s and to the 1990s, the Duluth-based fleet has helped build the Northland ports of call. From the captain to those who aspire to become the master of their own ship, each of the Blau's 29 crew members makes a huge personal commitment to an industry that has helped to create the Northland communities we call home.
expensive, huh?
Yeah. They make.
You're running out here. And then the other side is like I said, the boys. So all the sprinkler system doesn't have that.
Well, crime is on the increase, we believe, but also placement or follow-up to kids that are involved in criminal activity and assisting them and their families in terms of, number one, being responsible for the crime, and number two, paying back the victim or the community somehow.
I'm still concerned with my operation. It's just
Well, the only way that people can determine if they have a radon problem is to test, and the Minnesota Department of Health and US EPA urge homeowners across the country and in Minnesota to test their homes.
We just have a dusting of snow in Marquette, and we got about halfway here, and I had to drive last night about 1 in the morning, about 15, 20 miles an hour to get here. And when we got here, it went in spurts, but when we got here, it had the most snow.
When the doors opened at some area stores today, the earliest of the early birds began to stream inside.
For some, it's a ritual. Barb Brakowski of Little Falls makes a pilgrimage around the state every year to get her shopping done early. Today, she was up and shopping at 5 o'clock this morning.
We don't really know where we're going. We just don't. If we had a plan, we wouldn't follow it anyway. So we're just kind of looking for stores and looking for specials. Trying not to get lost.
To help with that problem, Rakowski enlisted the aid of her sister, Bonnie Hoheisel of Brainerd. Barb introduced her sister to the wonders of early shopping, but the results were mixed.
I've never done the traditional day after Thanksgiving Christmas shopping, and my sister dragged me out at 4:15 this morning. And I'm getting tired, but we're not done yet. We're going to more places. It's been fun so far.
And so it was up and down the aisles they went as part of a long day of early shopping. And as for how long it would last for the two?
Well, what time do the stores close tonight? Probably till 9, if they're open till 9. We'll be shopping if I can keep my sister out of bed. I wish we had shorter for our nieces.
Say yes, we anticipate an increase. The employee base grows. Minnesota Power, and you know there are no change gain. There's also the primary reason the first quarter is down is your construction, the weather. You're going to have a decrease in activity there, and then also the big factor in the first quarter is your seasonal wholesale retail activity definitely goes down in the first quarter.
Slavia, which means Southern Slav, in 1929. Biggest
And the Kraina is the one that we had all the battles with recently with the Croatian.
In the Austrian army.
If you can,
above Belgrade.
Yeah, it's above Belgrade.
There is not enough justice there, and I think that the peace will come when justice comes. It's unfortunate that it had to be done the way it did. You know, I'm against sending troops.
This is what those who patrol the highways want to avoid. They blame excessive speed for a significant number of accidents and say since federal legislation forced states to slow traffic 20 years ago, it's been a lot safer on the roadways.
It was obvious in 1974 when the speed limit was reduced that we saw a dramatic reduction in serious and fatal accidents.
But President Clinton's new law could change everything. He's left it up to states to set their own speed limits, and several states have already set the wheels in motion to increase speeds to 70 or 75 miles per hour. But neither Minnesota nor Wisconsin have any plans at this point to change their laws. In fact, Governor Arne Carlson has indicated he doesn't want the state to rush into lifting highway speed limits. But public opinion could change lawmakers' minds.
On 35, why not let everybody drive 80, 85 because they're driving it anyway?
Captain Lane says the legislature may look into increasing speeds on rural divided 4-lane highways such as Highway 53 north of Duluth. But he doesn't think they'll increase limits on rural 2-lane highways.
The Transportation Safety Task Force is due to issue its recommendations January 15th in time for the 1996 legislative session. In the meantime, Northland lawmakers would like to hear from the public about how you feel about increased speeds. On I-35 in Duluth, Barbara Riles, Channel 6 News.
At first glance, it looks like any of 100 other fire sites you've ever seen, but this one is different. This house on West 8th Street burned last Saturday, marking the 43rd arson fire in Duluth this year. The numbers are alarming. Arson fires are up 89% from 1 year ago in Duluth, and the cost adds up.
The arson monetary loss, United States, is more monetary loss than all the other crimes in the United States combined. But we have a lot of loss here, too. When you start looking at the Phoenix buildings and these other buildings and these homes that are burning, and they're all $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 losses, they add up.
Strongatharm is the lead arson investigator for the Duluth Fire Department. And even though he's not a full-time investigator, his group is getting better and better at sniffing out arson fires.
A team of firefighters and police officers went through the BCA training on arson investigation. It's a 3-week course, so we're better investigators. We're finding more. Some of those suspicious ones are turning into arsons instead of being unsolved.
To illustrate the growing size of the problem, you need only look at the department's own files. This is the inside of the case file for the last 2 years. The red tabs, arson fires. Despite the increase in the number of arson fires in Duluth, Strongatharm believes this is a fight that the area can win. Step number 1 in winning that fight, taking steps to keep your home safe from an arsonist.
Don't let the arsonist start your house on fire. And by doing that, make sure your doors are locked. Make sure your garage is locked. Your car is locked. Don't give them the opportunity. Don't pile garbage up alongside your house.
The department is worried about the rising number of juvenile arsonists, fearing that young people who burn buildings might make a career out of that habit. In Duluth, Jeff Pappas, Channel 6 News.
I came into work and she told me I was going to have a baby on Monday or Tuesday because her husband said the pressure was dropping, and I just kind of said, yeah, right.
And a few hours later, tiny Caitlin was born, a little early due in part to a drop in the barometric pressure in the atmosphere. A meteorologist predicted not only the drop in pressure, but also when Jamie and Dwayne's bundle of joy would arrive. But what is barometric pressure, and how does it affect babies?
Well, with low pressure on our weather map, you expect clouds, rain, and stormy weather. And less pressure on our bodies actually is what lower pressure means, so babies are more likely to be born. Now, with high pressure, they're less likely to be born because there's more force exerted on all of us, and it's not as easy for that baby to come on out. So that's why during storms you would expect babies to be born more often than during good weather.
Now, of course, there isn't any documented scientific proof of this theory, but just ask any of the nurses here in the nursery and they'll tell you.
Oh, definitely. In the summer, especially when it's raining, you'll say, okay, well, the floods have started. Let's get prepared, because we know that within a day or two, we're probably going to start to get very busy. On the last 3 days, we've had 9 deliveries.
Is that a lot?
That's a lot in 3 days.
In fact, when Hurricane Andrew hit in the south in 1992, the pressure was so low, a record number of babies were born. Low pressure is the same reason why airlines recommend pregnant women not fly after 7 months. Even farmers say that the night before a storm, a pregnant cow is likely to deliver. Sure, it all sounds coincidental, but that's not what the Pershes believe now.
Oh, yeah. I was to say, it's gone in her baby book. So, oh, yeah, it's definitely a keeper.
In Duluth, Ann Carroll, Channel 6 News.
My hope is that, and I'm confident the task force will, remain open-minded, and that we will listen to all of the input that's presented here before us, that we base our decisions on sound information and facts, not hysteria or fear.
National Steel and its union unveiled the landmark study today, which says it is economically feasible to produce and sell direct reduced iron ore on Minnesota's Iron Range.
One of the reasons we got into DRI is we get in, and also concentrate sales that we participate in, is that we wanted to fully utilize our assets at the pellet company. We've found ourselves to be in a unique position. We're in position at the pellet company because of the way we were operating to produce an additional 750,000 plus tons of concentrate per year.
For years, direct reduction has been talked about and studied here. Now National is developing a financing package to allow construction of an actual plant. The process is attractive because it converts taconite into higher grade iron, making it usable in new mini steel mills. New equipment will be added to the existing Keewatin plant, employing 90 additional people. 2 years ago, National Steel closed its doors and put many people out of work. But times have changed here in Keewatin, and many residents are optimistic about today's announcement.
I think it'll be great for the community because, well, it's going to, everybody is sort of expecting it to happen already. And
the study was funded by the IRRB, so it is available to all the mines. Others are expected to develop similar plants. It's hoped this new wave of investment will bring a construction boom like the range hasn't seen in years.
It's something they've been thinking about a long time, and people are excited about it. It should be really good for the community.
The next step is a financing package, including who will actually own and operate the facility. The National Steel Board must still give the go-ahead. That's not expected before late January. In Keewatin, Gina Stapleton, Channel 6 News.
Hey, Jimbo, how's it going? Hey, you got my card, man.
Still a pretty good chance, especially for cards and letters. Packages, we're recommending that people use overnight or 2-day, 3-day services like express mail or priority mail.
There's kind of a lull right after Christmas, before New Year's, and people are looking for things to do, and some of the adults take time off and want to spend some time with their kids. It's a great place to come, and it's a lot of fun.
Duluth and Superior convenience stores have recently been hit with a string of armed robberies. The most recent ones were the robbery at the Spur gas station in Duluth on November 16th. The next hit was on the 10th of this month in Superior at Holiday, where a robber took an undetermined amount of money. On the 19th, another robber got away with an undisclosed amount of money from the milk house in Duluth. Store managers say they're on the lookout for trouble.
We tell our people, give the money up, don't put up a fuss. It ain't worth it, for $85, And if we lose $85, we don't want nobody hurt at all. That's the main story of it all.
Crispin also feels that today's advanced security systems and quick police response time deter would-be thieves.
Rob it. But it's desperate times, and people do desperate things out there, so you got to be aware of it. And, we tell them to stay in the window. The Superior Police Department come through 4 times a night. There really isn't much of a chance, I believe, for them to get away.
Duluth police have an advice checklist of what precautions owners and employees should take.
The clerk should be visible to the street. In this day and age, we should have good operating video cameras inside the store, and the video cameras should be visible too, so a potential robber will be able to see that there are cameras in place. Robbery alarms work good. Marked money. Most stores now have money in the cash register where they've recorded the serial number, so they can give that to the robber.
Police say if involved in a robbery, also look for unique features or details you can report to the police later to help catch the suspect. Tamika Snowden, Channel 6 News.
You never know where magician Bill Irwin will pop up. Or what he'll pull out of his sleeve. From coin stunts to card tricks to colored bowling pins, Bill juggles the art of magic.
It's just like a dance. You have to choreograph it, and you have to know what the next step is and what the effect is on your audience.
And sometimes Bill says his effect is even hypnotizing.
You take your fingers, hold them like so. Take the coin. We're going to balance them right here on the fingers. Just like that. And when the president's fully hypnotized, you'll notice he'll even go to sleep.
But don't you doze off. This is the one trick Bill will show you how to do. Take a pin, put it between your fingers and the coin, and presto, it's magic.
Now, Bill's been feeling so magical, he's even allowed me to get in on a trick. So what do I do here, Bill?
It's very simple. $2 bills, we're going to place them together. And Renee, if you would do the honors, please, just cut right up the middle. And now, the magic.
Hey, how did he do that? And how does he do this?
Bye.
Wow, he is magical. But wait, that was my bottle of wine. Renee Cohn for NBC News.
It's a safe place for the kids to go and do some neat activities. We've been ice skating, sledding, we're going to the zoo tomorrow, and it's just an option for parents to find something fun for their kids to do.
They said it was the drinking, and that was plain to see when these 4 joyriders became only 3. He was a decent boy, she was a kid with style. That night he became a man, but she's forever a child.
Stephanie Schofield was just 16 when she was killed on an Iron Range road on September 17, 1993. The driver of the car was Sean Ludlow, a 17-year-old Cook High School senior.
I think I had like 5 beers, 5 or 6 beers, so, you know, we still really hadn't gotten started yet, really. The night was still young was our idea.
That was the night Sean lost control of his car as it traveled 113 miles an hour on the approach to this curve. Sean, Rachel Daniels, and Jeff Edberg survived. Stephanie did not.
I turned around, and Stephanie was lying on the road right behind me.
It was late. It was like 12 o'clock, 12:30 at night, and the phone rang. And I don't like to answer the phone late at night anyway. She said that Stephanie had died and she was killed in a car accident.
Forever a Child was produced by Charlotte Falk, who worked with Sean, an inmate at the Northeast Regional Corrections Facility. He wanted to send an anti-drinking and driving message to other teenagers. So did his victim's mother.
She said if any sense was to come from Stephanie's death, this would be it. So she was not only giving me her permission, but she was willing to be involved.
Falk believed in the project so much she took out a second mortgage on her home to fund it. Today, her video has attracted 4 major Northland sponsors, guaranteeing Stephanie's life and tragic death will be remembered.
There are nights when the truth still echoes through the pines, oh, where she became forever a child.
Though federal workers will now be paid through January 20th.
Forever a child.
Though federal workers will now be paid through January 26th, it seems as though no one thinks the battle is over. On the one hand, politicians offer words of encouragement.
I would say to the public employees, the government employees, number one, you should be very proud. You shouldn't be held hostage, and I think people in the country are behind you.
But on the other hand, employees can't use words to pay their bills. Some government departments have issued letters for their employees to give to their creditors, but those letters aren't working, and that hurts.
And you do feel used and sort of the pawns of the politicians at this time. But our staff look at the higher priority that they have to deal with.
Essential employees like those at the federal prison camp in Duluth and the Veterans Hospital in Superior have been working for free since mid-December. Forbidden to strike, they now want someone to listen.
They're caught in a catch-22. They've got bill collectors on one side shaking a stick and the federal government on the other side shaking money saying we'll pay you when we get it.
That's the reason for Wednesday's informational picket. The 2 previous shutdowns tell Northland federal employees that their next check may not come without an agreement in Washington, and the workers aren't optimistic.
Nobody knows what's going to happen, and we all expect the worst. And I don't know that there's a lot more to be said about that.
In Duluth, Jeff Pappas, Channel 6 News.
To make them the victims, and I'm hoping today in the House of Representatives that, I'll tell you guys, we're going to talk about issues that are important to senior citizens. Weather state, and we're still way underfunded, and I am very worried that come middle of January, and I'm sure you're hearing this already from the community action programs, we're going to be back to where we were before. Where, you know, I can visit with people here in Duluth, and I'll go into a home, and an elderly woman is going to be heating her home with her oven, or someone's living in one room, and I'm very worried.
The stores were busy today, as they generally are on Sundays, but today people had an extra incentive to be out shopping. Unfortunately, the item many people were looking for wasn't there. The Duluth Target store had 20 carbon monoxide detectors in stock when it opened for business this morning. By noon, they were all gone.
Just ran out of them, and we have had them in most of the winter here, off and on, different model numbers, but right now we're completely sold out just because of some of the recent stories just this last week on some tragedies in the area. So
the message of those tragedies has hit home in the Northland. Chapman says people now look at detectors as a standard household safety item.
Really now people are treating them almost like a smoke detector, and almost every household seems to want one that has any type of gas or fuel oil where could have carbon monoxide issues. So
to make matters worse, carbon monoxide is doubly dangerous because it can't be seen, meaning many Northlanders were shopping today for peace of mind.
Yeah, it's really scary. There's too many people dying from this, and yeah, it's something to worry about when you have an oil furnace.
And people are persistent in their search. Arlene Monroe of Duluth searched 3 stores today looking for a detector.
Yeah, because it seems to be like it's something here in the Northland that we are more exposed to because of the heat, and we have I have gas, and there might be things going on that I really should be aware of.
Today, people were settling for rain checks, but those on the lookout for detectors say they'll keep coming back until they find what they want.
And the fact that it's such an important historical item for the neighborhood, you might say, being that it's connected to Carlton, Minnesota, and the beginning of the Northern Pacific. But other than that, we have many other things in here which are equally significant, and perhaps even a little bit more so in some cases.
One example is the new remote encoding center in West Duluth. The city worked for 3 years to bring the U.S. Postal Service facility here. Now, hundreds of Duluthians are benefiting from good-paying jobs that until recently, no one had ever envisioned.
That's okay, I'll just watch. I don't mind, and then she invites me to play a game.
What makes this play so unique are the actors. About half of them have disabilities. The story, however, does not focus on their disabilities, but on their talents.
That we pick a script, we cast the show, and without any taking out into account any disabilities, and go ahead and just do a straight play.
The The Access Theater tries to get people on stage who may have never had the opportunity to act.
People begin here, get their feet wet on stage in a real safe atmosphere, a real supportive atmosphere, and then if it turns out that it's something they love and want to pursue, they take it elsewhere.
And even though some of the actors are disabled, that doesn't mean they can't act on this stage. Larger printed scripts and a little bit of light can help those who are visually impaired.
So I've tried it in high school before. I've tried out for plays, and because of not being able to read the scripts real well, I didn't get into any of the plays that I tried to. And here they accommodate me in every way, you know, that I need it.
The play also has sign language interpreters involved in sharing the action on stage with the hearing impaired audience members.
And that makes it a lot easier for deaf and hearing impaired people who come to see our production, because they don't have to play ping pong back and forth to, you know, keep track of what the interpreters are saying and what's going on in the play.
Because I had never been in a play where I work with people that are not disabled and people who are. And I just found out, wow, they have so much confidence.
And they're ready to take it to the stage this Thursday. In Duluth, Kim Steininger, Channel 6 News.
A budget than ever in history. And this president's trying to make
grocery bills to meet, car payment.
1 million applications for Social Security benefits. We demonstrate.
After looking for over a year and a half for the most stable situation, I really believe the federal government was it, and I guess I still have to believe that, and this will pass, because if not, it's too hard. I mean, morale gets really low if you think about it.
What has held up this agreement is the insistence of the Republicans on cuts that I believe are excessive in Medicare, Medicaid, education, and the environment, and insistence on a tax hike on the lowest income of our working families.
It's at the top of Governor Carlson's legislative agenda. Vouchers to help parents send children to private schools have stirred up a hornet's nest of controversy. Under the governor's plan, access to private schools will be increased for most families. A family of 4 making under $41,500 a year would be eligible for vouchers ranging from $500 to $3,000. Not surprisingly, public educators don't care for the plan.
Vouchers would make a good system worse. I think we should make a good system better, and I'm in favor of that.
But some parents don't see the public school system as good. They say vouchers would force schools to improve, allow parents choice in educating their children, and give them greater access to private education. At the center of the issue is competition.
I think it is good. It is good. There's a lot of fear out there, and be it real or unreal is yet to be seen.
Opponents say vouchers will only drain public schools of students and money. The vouchers wouldn't cover the cost of many private schools, and competition isn't needed in the first place.
Competition requires failure. If you have 26 teams competing to be in the state tournament, and only 6 are going to be there, and only 1 is going to win, the rest of them are not going to win. And I'm not sure that applying that sort of competition to a system of education is really a worthwhile goal.
Nierengarten says that vouchers may not cover the cost of a private education for some families, but that among some parents the desire to change is high.
They don't always equal out. And so the feelings run high. The sentiment is strong because the money is short.
But in the end, the final decision on vouchers won't be made by educators, but by legislators. In Duluth, Jeff Pappas, Channel 6 News.
In the metro area,
was one of the 3 people in this room who offered me advice and assistance. Those were the days.
Here we are at the Superior Animal Shelter. I'm Mickey and here with Barbara.
Hi.
And we have a very cool dog to talk about today.
Really cool.
This is a Basset Hound, one of the oldest breeds there is. Talk about energy. He's been pulling us all over the place, but look we told him to sit. He's got that sit stance all down, friendly, ready to shake my hand. And have we named him? Do we have a name for him?
No, anything. I don't know what he looks like.
Okay. And a Basset Hound, perfect for the Duluth Superior area, one of the more popular breeds of dogs. A lot of personality.
He's so mellow. I mean, he's strong, but he's really mellow. He'll lay down, and it took about 5 minutes, and he was sitting for me.
Okay.
So he's really smart, and he's doing better on a leash, but you can't expect Rome to be built in a day. I mean, when you take a dog home, if you can't spend a little bit of time training them, you're probably not the right person to have a dog. You should probably have a cat or something like that. Right. So
absolutely.
And it's fun to train them. You should know, I mean.
Oh yes, the little Bowie, he's trained, and it's fun for you and the dog as you train them. They are a responsibility. They're not something to just keep in the corner, and they become part of the family, literally, is what I found out. So here I am with Barbara at the Superior Animal Shelter. They have big dogs, small dogs, and also some cats. So check it out. The animals are ready for you to take home, and they take well care of these animals. They're just waiting for your visit and waiting to go home with you. So for more information on this, you can see on your screen the address and the phone number, and they'll be ready and willing to help you here at the Superior Animal Shelter.
I really thought maybe the worst was over and we won't have any more, but who knows? I'll just take it the way it comes. There. Up to my knee. I've got long legs. Yeah. Sure. Okay. Up to my knee. My light doesn't burn out.
And so it's on again. The 13th annual John Beargrease Sled Dog Marathon is headed up the North Shore. But this year, there were some Northlanders who had the best seats in the house, literally.
It looks like I see 7 and 8 stacked up out there at least.
Race sponsors sold seats inside the mushers' sleds to race fans. Normally, that spot is taken by a handler for the first few miles of the race to slow the teams down. But fans do the job just as well.
This is a gift from my uncle. So. It was a surprise, actually, about a week ago. He just called and asked if we wanted to. My brother and sister-in-law are also riding a basket. So
are you pretty excited?
I'm extremely excited.
It was easy to get caught up in the excitement of the start, even for the riders.
I used to live in Alaska, and dog mushing was so exciting.
No Duluth musher has ever won the Bear Grease Marathon, but this year several entrants have high hopes, especially with the extra shot of winter we received this week.
I'd like a little bit colder, but it's fine. It's fine. I think it's easier on the dog's feet, actually. So it's near perfect weather.
Make sure you don't lose those runners in there.
Duluth musher Mark Black is a race veteran who's trying to make his big move this year. He thinks a new and improved team will help him on to victory.
Team looks great. We lost our main leader to a heart condition. She's in permanent retirement, so we got a couple other leaders that had to step up and take her place, but got high hopes we should do all right.
Time will tell. The teams are expected back in Duluth on Thursday. At the start of the Bear Grease, Ann Carroll, Channel 6 News.
I blame the system. I blame the hospital.
For not doing what?
For not providing proper care for my husband after surgery.
Last year, Suzanne Lobb settled with an HMO in San Diego after her husband died in the recovery room following elective surgery. He was only 47 years old. Across country, this lawyer sued another HMO in a case involving a late diagnosis of breast cancer. Both suits involved HMOs. Coincidence? Not according to consumer activist and attorney Harvey Rosenfield in Los Angeles. He says some HMOs were set up to save money, making them less interested in the patient than with a bottom line. And even more than that.
When the HMOs are given a financial incentive to deny care to people, to limit the number of referrals to specialists, that you're going to have lower quality care.
Financial incentives? Some doctors say they're offered money to keep patients out of emergency rooms and away from expensive specialists. But representatives of large managed care organizations say financial incentives in health care are often misunderstood.
Every health care system, whether it's managed care or not, has incentives. In the old-style fee-for-service system, the incentive was to provide more care often than is necessary, and that can be dangerous.
And more HMOs are challenging the critics. Industry executives quoted in this hospital trade publication say they're trying to bring a rational approach to health care. And Danzig says, for patients with chronic illness, managed care means coordinated care.
I don't think you can get better care anywhere for chronic diseases like diabetes or asthma, for example, anywhere else but in a managed care organization where you have generalists and specialists and other providers working together.
But how do you know when an HMO has your, not its, best interests at heart? Look at the bottom line, says Dr. David Himmelstein, a Harvard professor and physician with U.S. Healthcare. He has some harsh words for his HMO.
The word is that they're making enormous amounts of money by denying patients care. Their CEO made $20 million in a single year and owns $500 million in company stock, and I think that making that kind of money out of illness is really unconscionable.
But U.S. Healthcare says executive compensation has not driven premiums higher. They claim company leaders have proven their worth, giving consumers quality health care at a competitive price. So how do you know where you stand as a patient? If you're a member of an HMO, Himmelstein and Danzig agree. Ask your doctors straight out if they have financial incentives tied to what they do or don't do for your care. And then ask if their HMO contract restricts what they can tell you about those incentives. Some HMO contracts do just that. And Harvey Rosenfield says his group will go even further and propose legislation to make financial incentives illegal where they're perceived as denying care. Some states have already passed laws to prevent HMOs and other insurers from discharging maternity patients too soon after delivery. The publication, Modern Healthcare, says HMOs are concerned that more laws could be on the way. Suzanne Lobb wouldn't mind.
No one in our family will ever be left alone in the hospital again, ever.
I hear a lot in Washington these days about feeling everybody else's pain. Well, I think they ought to get off their bureaucratic behinds and come up and see the pains on the faces of the people who've lost their farms, lost their houses, lost their trailers, lost their businesses.
It's frustrating if you have to move around along some Northland streets nowadays. All our snow is great for skiing, but when it's in the way of daily living, snow is just a four-letter word.
Snow accumulation that we've not had much snow melt off, and so it's just staying there. The snow banks along the streets are terribly high.
That has residents frustrated. Some homeowners are literally trapped on their own property, placed there in part by crews removing snow from their streets.
We're seeing more calls about snow being pushed onto their lawns. We don't like to do that. We really appreciate people's tolerance. There's a limit to the city's resources.
Now some residents have to dig out all over again, and in frustration, the snow is going back from whence it came, back onto streets. The Minnesota DOT says that's a no-no.
Don't throw it in the street, no, because remember, cars are coming along, and a snowdrift can cause the car to go out of control, and it can create a real hazardous situation.
But the snow has to go somewhere. In Duluth, for example, snow removal is only scheduled for downtown, while most residential streets will have to wait until spring for permanent relief. Huge snowbanks are also causing vision problems for motorists on freeways across the Northland.
Your first priority is to open up the routes so the motorists can travel. And eventually we will start removing snow to create open areas, good visibility.
In northeastern Minnesota, the DOT has to plow a land area larger than Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Delaware combined. Officials are urging all Northlanders to do the same thing this week. Be patient. In Duluth, Jeff Pappas, Channel 6 News.
Or if you wanted to copy.
They are meeting their needs. A family does not need to be in crisis to access our services here, and we are not duplicating or creating new services, but simply bringing services and programs that already exist in the greater Duluth community here to Lester Park Family Resource Center and also to our Family Resource Center out at the memorial site.
Yesterday, Tracy provided me with
Bear Grease officials say vandals on snowmobiles intentionally changed signs along the trail to misdirect the teams traveling near Grand Marais. Race officials and local snowmobile club members want to know who's responsible.
They've been well orchestrated. They had tools with them to remove the signs that we had up. They had tools with them to put the signs on the trail, it's leading us off into areas that they wanted us to go, and they did a fine job of doing this signing.
Musher Arlie Jorgensen of Grand Marais noticed the change in the course, stopped, and waited for up to 2 hours, giving up his spot in the race to help other teams get back on track. He was given a sportsmanship award for his actions. Meanwhile, investigators don't have any leads as to who's vandalizing the race course. On another sad note, one of the mushers' dogs has died. 19-year-old Jessica Royer out of Montana lost a 5-and-a-half-year-old female Alaskan Husky named Willie. The dog died unexpectedly yesterday afternoon.
when she noticed that Willie wasn't pulling quite as strongly as she usually does. And Jessica was keeping a close eye on her. And then she started doing what the mushers call neck lining. In other words, instead of keeping the line hooked to the back of the harness tight, she was going so slow, the rest of the team was pulling her by the collar.
Race veterinarian Jeff Ladd says many of the dogs have needed extra rest at the checkpoints. The snow is making it a difficult and slow trail for these dogs.
We set out looking for different ordinances. We looked all across the country at different cities and what they had, working with our city attorney's office, and came up with the one that probably we think is the one that we're presenting in the city council is it's the model Drug Enforcement Administration paraphernalia policy, and so that's the one that is the council is going to be voting on here.
I think I've kind of grown used to it. I move around a lot and I wear plenty of clothing to stay warm. And I do go indoors if it gets really, really bad. My fingertips start to get cold in my face. So how long have you been doing this job? Since October 23rd of 1995. It was this last year, last fall.
A hidden camera watches as car thieves get away with their latest score. An easy steal? Not exactly. Seconds later, the car shuts off. The door's locked. And the crooks are caught.
Hands up!
We're going to jail.
This thief, like many others, took the bait left by Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies.
Your hands on your head now.
We position a car in a location where there's a lot of crime occurring, and we allow the people to take it.
We were not allowed to photograph the car, which is equipped with electronic tracking gear in the trunk. The car is monitored by computer.
Well, he's right up here now.
And when it's snatched, it can be shut off by remote control.
It's estimated at least 7,000 cars are stolen in the Los Angeles area every month. The biggest challenge, catching the thieves in the act.
We catch them absolutely in the act. Now, do we catch them in the act? We put them on film. We have sound to it. Very, very few of these cases have ever gone to court.
Since the bait car was developed 2 years ago, the department has netted more than 100 thieves. Some go to great lengths to avoid the law. I saw for myself beating this system is hard to do.
So as I'm making my getaway, I drive off. Just like that, the motor has been shut off. You give it gas, nothing. And now, I'm locked in.
Oh, they set us up, Tom.
It's high-tech law enforcement with a simple message. Don't look back. Someone may be gaining on you.
Keep your hands up here.
David Gregory, Channel 6 News.
Duluth police responded to a call of an armed robbery at the Cloquet Co-op Credit Union just after 9:30 this morning. Witnesses say a white male entered the bank, jumped on the counter and yelled, "Everybody get down, do as I say, and no one will get hurt." The suspect then drove away with an undisclosed amount of money.
A couple witnesses saw someone flee in a vehicle from here. The vehicle matches the description of a stolen vehicle we had in the area.
Police say the robber jumped in the stolen vehicle parked in the alley next to the credit union. The car is described as a tan 1986 Honda Accord with Minnesota license plates. The credit union president says employees were shocked by the robbery but are trained for these situations.
Well, Kim, from our standpoint, we train for robbery all the time, so we react as how we're trained. And what happened, we follow exactly as the robber would ever indicate to do. We're certainly concerned most of all of the safety of our employees.
Nobody was injured during the robbery. Police say it's unknown what kind of weapon the man had. In Duluth, Kim Steininger, Channel 6 News.
Since the early morning hours of January 26th, time has stood still for the Johnson family. That was the night Damien and his good friend got into a terrible car accident near Mountain Iron. 20-year-old Jason Urban died that night. Damien suffered critical injuries, including massive head trauma. He has yet to come out of a coma.
Get to a point where you get emotionally drained.
Damien's twin brother Derek left his job in North Carolina to rush to the hospital in Duluth.
But it's in the Lord's hands on what he wants to do and what would be best for Damien.
A team of 6 St. Luke specialists is working to keep Damien alive. Meanwhile, his family pulls together and turns to the Northland for support.
And they put up donation jars all around International Falls. And I work at Boise, and I think they have canisters inside Boise itself.
You know, all the people that care, you know, for Damien, and to see all the people, his friends and stuff there for him, you know, it's just really makes a big difference.
But the family is asking for something else as well. They are asking the Northland to pray for Damien and for the memory of his friend Jason.
But the realization that when we are facing some of the most difficult struggles in life, that we are not doing it alone, makes a tremendous difference.
I'd like to say thank you.
At St. Luke's Hospital in Duluth, Barbara Riles, Channel 6 News.
Here, you know the routine. Yeah.
Sharon Walk and Melissa Matheny have a lot in common. Not only are they best friends, but they share a rare gastrointestinal disorder, a disease that takes them out of life's mainstream.
I'm not really able to eat anything without getting sick and without getting a lot of pain. And I have a catheter in my chest that feeds me intravenously.
The two girls met through an organization called the Friends Health Connection. Mutual support has gone a long way in improving their quality of life.
It was amazing how much we had in common, because I thought I had chronic fatigue syndrome with severe GI symptoms, and I had no idea that my severe GI symptoms were a whole other disease until I talked to her and realized she had the exact same symptoms.
The emotional bonds start in a small office in New Brunswick, New Jersey, where 4,000 patients from every walk of life have been connected. 25-year-old Roxanne Black, herself a lupus victim, founded the Friends Health Connection 7 years ago, out of a need to reach others during her illness.
This is not just for lupus patients, it's for people of any age with any type of health problem, ranging from the most common diseases to very rare disorders.
Participants are matched on a customized one-to-one basis, according to age, health problem, personal background, as well as hobbies and interests. Then the stage is set for members to compare experiences through any means: email, cassettes, videotapes, phone conversations, letters, and even personal visits. Total patient care requires more than just treating an illness. It must also focus on the psychological and social aspects of that disease. And research is now on the way to prove that very point.
There's no question that having emotional support dramatically improves your chances of recovery and improves the quality of your life.
It fills in the gap where medicine leaves off and spiritual, soul, community healing takes over.
Although the data is inconclusive, the dozens of letters Roxanne receives daily are proof enough that mutual support and encouragement really give purpose to one's pain.
It's amazing how just having someone who will be there for you and who understands what you're going through, the impact that it can have on your life is just incredible.
They come together and help each other live with the experience, and you don't feel like a failure. Somebody can say, I've been through that, I know how you feel.
Simply put, a friend can make the difference. Dr. Kevin Soden, Channel 6 News.
And it is only the top 20% that has really done well the Congress want to do. You're going to have to cut way years. Is going to be education. If you're a high school dropout today and you're 30 years old, you're making about 30% less than a high school dropout made 30 years ago. This year, which is to actually cut back on it, to do that, is education. When people would take the House floor and brag about how college. That program is being substantially cut back. 53,000 kids are being cut out of, or 43,000 kids are being cut out of the Head Start program. And on student aid itself, this new Congress has decided to cut $10 billion out of the student loan.
As you move further north, you'll find more and more people suffer a kind of depression in the winter that has to do with several things, primarily light deprivation. And that's primarily what seasonal affective disorder is caused by: shorter days, less light.
UMD psychologist Dr. Bud McClure says about 2 in 5 Northlanders suffer from seasonal affective disorder. Symptoms include difficulty sleeping, feeling constantly tired, negative or pessimistic thoughts, inability to control eating, especially craving chocolate, and a lack of sexual desire. Psychologists also say that women are more susceptible to this seasonal disorder.
Women, as they do with clinical depression, experience seasonal affective disorder about 4 times more than men do.
Yes, we're at 59! What do you mean?
Winter with lots of snow and lots of cold makes the problem worse. Sound familiar?
When I say evil, I mean blizzard conditions. That's what's riding up and over the cold air at the surface right now. That's what's going to kick up the flurries that...
So what do you do about it? Exercise.
Experts say 10 minutes a day will make all the difference in the world.
Now, you don't need to be a world-class athlete or run a marathon every 2 weeks. It's been proven that walking the dog for just 10 or 15 minutes a day will help prevent this disorder from growing into a major problem. Also, eat lots of carbohydrates, and finally, spend time every day under bright lights.
At night when I read by my bed, I have a halogen lamp, which is about 500 watts. And I know that there's been a marked improvement in my feeling as a result. I read maybe an hour, hour and a half at night by that light, and I think that contributes to my own ability to muddle through these god-awful winters.
And just because the worst part of winter is almost gone, don't think your winter blues will fade anytime soon. In fact, problems peak in March. The jet stream brings warmer air to us. It also brings clouds, fog, and more snow. So our bodies are actually fooled into thinking that the darker days of winter are here to stay, even though our daylight has increased to nearly 12 hours by the 3rd week of March. Hang in there. By the 2nd week of April, the snow cover is gone, and so are the winter blues. At least until next year. In Duluth, meteorologist Mickey Prangley, Channel 6 News.
We're just promoting your smoke alarm, burn awareness week.
No, we need to have you do this. It's batteries.
Okay, all right.
House fires are decreased greatly because of smoke alarms, so those statistics are going down. However, about 75% of all burns that happen do happen in the home, so whether it's related to a house fire or a scald injury.
But I also might show them some of the flowers or some of the plants, the trees, and maybe even some mammals. Just kind of give them an idea of all the different. I also draw and sketch birds. To take African American children out into nature and give them this confident feeling, it's something that I hope will last a lifetime, and hopefully they will think to themselves that I can be just about anything I want.
Exploring, nature, the wilderness without Dudley.
It worked for me, and I'd like to at least give kids the opportunity to write stories about birds, and I submit them with photos that I've taken to magazines. I also draw.
Each site, but periodically what we are doing is the whole class, that is everybody from all the universities, gets together to talk live and interactively on the computer.
Give them another deal that the VEDA board would find acceptable. You have some reservations about that? Tell us.
Well, I have some reservations from the start. I had reservations about the project because we constantly had smoke and mirrors and a done deal, a done deal, a done deal that never became a done deal. That's the unfortunate thing with the project. I would suspect if Brown does not have those tenants signed now, he's not going to get them.
Well, Greedy's 28 years old. Those are just adolescent kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember growing up in those. We're still looking. Every day I'm looking at federal and state funding sources to try and find it. I know our area legislators have been looking at the same thing in the state, the governor. And it's the political process that really bothers us right now, or bothers me, because it was a worthwhile program. And